just say the best part of this episode was Asher acknowledging the amazing way that Tegan says Castillo? I'd like to think that's because they've seen my video, so that's what I'm gonna do. So we're going to talk about episode 2 of the final season of How to Get Away with Murder. It's going to be a quick recap with some minor predictions on where I think the show is going. But before we get started, thank you for watching. What do you think about this week's episode, and what are your predictions? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'm going to be posting new How to Get Away with Murder videos weekly, so hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this one. Similar to last week, we're just going to break it down character by character because there were some people that came hard this week, and that ending, yeah. But we'll get to that later. Cliffhanger. First off, let's talk about Connor. Everyone's back in school, and Connor is head of this week's case. Annalise has enough to deal with, so she's like, boy, bye, and leaves him to handle it on his own, and Connor handles it on his own. Now, he might have gone a little bit too far with making certain promises in the end, but it was a nice way for the show to connect to some current issues. And you know what? It's also just so amazing to see Connor's growth over the series. I mean, at one point, he dropped out of law school, and now he's just killing it in court. But you didn't come here to listen to me admire Connor, so let's get to the juicy stuff. Okay, Frank and Laurel, some very interesting developments here. Recently read an article that said Carla Souza has been reduced from the series regular, meaning she's probably not going to be in the season that much, which is fine. Don't get me wrong, I do love Laurel, but they spend a little bit too much time on that Castile story arc. Anyway, we found out that key that Frank found leads to his safety deposit box, but he can't access it because only Laurel and one mystery person are authorized. So, Frank goes to Jorge Castillo of all people, and based on their interaction, we're further led to believe that Laurel disappeared on her own. And further to support that, when Frank finally gains access to the deposit box using a fake Wes Gibbons ID, which I feel like is still a little too soon, we found out that Laurel actually cleaned the box out 3 days prior. Why, do you ask? Supposedly, it has Wes's full confession for Sam's murder. By the way, that Wes flashback scene is probably the best we're gonna get, and Wes is not alive? Sorry. I do think Laurel is alive though, but everything is pointing too much towards the fact that she may be working with the FBI. I think she has the best intentions for this and is trying to protect everyone, possibly by even destroying that confession. What I can't place my finger on though is why would she take Christopher, unless Christopher is being used as leverage, maybe by Governor Burkhead, and Burkhead really wants a confession, so she's using Christopher as a means to motivate Laurel to get it. All I know is Burkhead and Xavier haven't appeared at all this season yet, and neither has Laurel, so there has to be a connection there. We don't even know if Sandrine is still alive. All things are pointing to her being dead, but it's still a possibility that she's alive and just working with Laurel. Alright, that was a lot. Let's give Tegan some screen time and talk about Laurel. So I've now decided that Tegan is involved in Laurel's disappearance somehow, but in a way where she's helping. So that picture from episode 1 was actually taken the same year that Laurel was kidnapped the first time, and C and G were on that case. Could Tegan and Laurel be working together to protect Annalise? I mean, Tegan's done it before with Telesco. She's ride or die. Speaking of which, I just love Tegan and Annalise's relationship. It just seems so genuine. She defended Annalise with Vivian, and when she was alone, she audibly said that she needed Annalise as a friend at that moment. I don't think she's playing anyone. If anything, she's working on the inside to protect everyone with Laurel. Whether she likes it or not, she's involved now. Alright, moving on, we're gonna talk about the whole Vivian thing. And props to Marsha Stephanie Blake, because it's always hard to slide into a show 6 seasons in and fit in so naturally. And she did a fantastic job. And as a character, Vivian holds her own. I honestly didn't think she's gonna be that much of a threat, but after seeing her on the show so far, she's probably gonna be a very formidable enemy. I always wanted to say that. I mean, their first conversation was Vivian telling Annalise that Sam chose her and she denied him. Then that scene they shared together at the end was just done so well. I mean, in other circumstances, they would make a great pair to take down the governor, which maybe? I'm still a little unsure of her motives though. Like, why now of all time would she want to take Annalise down for Sam's death? A man she severed from her life. So, it's been ages since I've heard her name, but Annalise mentions Hannah, Sam's sister, may have something to do with this. And I have a feeling she's definitely coming back this season. And I think that ties in heavily into something I'm going to talk about later. ... Anyway, so Gabriel and Vivian share this moment that reveals that there's some tension between the two. There's also the side plot of Gabriel killing Vivian's old boyfriend or something. So here's my theory. I think Vivian was either sent by or is working with Hannah, or Hannah was sent by the FBI and they enlisted the help of Vivian to take down Annalise. Note the mention of Vivian possibly wearing a wire. Perhaps Vivian is using this as leverage to get her drug charges removed. Oh yeah, Bonnie gets fired because she forges a police report because she's trying to uncover what's sealed on Vivian's record. Still more Bonnie, just not a lot of development. Anyway, I'll be honest, something big needs to be revealed out of this whole Gabriel killed Vivian's boyfriend thing because I'm not really that invested in it and I don't understand the importance of it. It possibly makes Gabriel a murderer like the rest of the Keating crew, but let's move it along and let it serve its purpose already. Finally, we're just gonna lump Michaela and Annalise into one because this show is trying hardcore to convince us that Michaela is the one who kills Annalise. Which, I'm gonna come out and say it right now, it wasn't, and I still don't even believe Annalise dies. Okay, so Michaela's pissed, obviously, because Annalise knew her birth father, so she ditches school, teams up with Oliver, becomes Lois Lane, and then tracks him down. So he's in the system, and after a few failed attempts, Michaela finally finds him, only to find out that he actually died of a stroke 1 year ago. I literally wrote a sad face when I heard this. Between all of this, Annalise is teaching class, dealing with Vivian, and trying to figure out if Tegan is playing her. Then there's a scene where Annalise is buying drugs, and I almost broke because I thought that Annalise was addicted to coke now, but it was just a plan to set up Vivian. Okay, back to what I was saying. Yeah, no, Annalise definitely knows more about Michaela's birth parents than she's letting on. I wouldn't even be surprised if the death was possibly fabricated or Annalise has been keeping tabs on him this whole time. We've spent so long wondering about Michaela's past, so there is no way they tied it up this fast. But it is the last season, so they may just be trying to tie up all the loose ends as quickly as possible. I just felt like this was a bit anticlimactic and there's gotta be a little bit more to it. Also, I've officially laid my Michaela and Gabriel are related theory to rest. Are you happy? So Michaela and Vivian met and I would have assumed a bigger reaction out of Vivian and that didn't happen, so I get it. All right, now let's dissect that flash forward scene. Point 1, we get a timeline. Annalise mentions graduation is in 3 months and looks like Michaela's wearing a graduation gown, so we can assume that the supposed murder takes place on graduation night. Point 2, it looks like the interrogators are the same FBI agents that are working on the Miller case. We saw them briefly in that scene where Bonnie gets fired in her office. And I'd like to pause and just say I loved AJ Naomi King's performance in this scene. Point 3, the FBI agents mention a dead informant and Michaela's fingerprints are on the murder weapon. I'd like to speak to my lawyer. Now, this is where my interest got piqued. We can assume that this informant was going to expose them all. But who was it? Now this is where things get crazy. What if the show is just manipulating time and the Annalise funeral and this season's murder have nothing to do with each other? Okay, back to the informant thing though. I mentioned this earlier. I think Hannah is definitely coming back this season. She's been wanting to know the truth about Sam's death since what, season 2? And where has she been all this time? Getting over it? No, she's been plotting to take Annalise down and get justice. I think it's possible she finally finds out the truth, but before she can get to the FBI, she gets killed. By who? Michaela? Maybe? I don't know, but she's not going to stop, so they have to stop her. Who knows? But I just think this entire interrogation scene is a setup and Michaela's putting on an act. She's kind of done that before. Now that's a wild theory, but the informant could also be Laurel, Vivian, Oliver, Tegan. Either way, somebody dies. If this whole Annalise is dead, which she's not thing is true, maybe she's the informant and Michaela just snaps and takes her out. But that'd be too obvious. Again, they're throwing the Michaela is the killer, Annalise is dead in our face, and that's clearly to throw us off what actually happens. In any case, this ending was much more on par with the How to Get Away with Murder I'm used to, and I enjoyed this episode much more than I enjoyed the first one. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Who do you think the informant is? And do you think Annalise is telling the truth about Michaela's birth father? If you want to see any of my other How to Get Away with Murder videos, click one here. And don't forget to hit that thumbs up, it really helps me out. And subscribe with the side notification bell. Until next time, shine on, you crazy diamonds.